Good morning, and welcome to First Parish of Brookline. Welcome back, whether you've been coming for decades or just joined us. A very warm welcome to those who are here for the first time. We are so glad you're here with us today. It's so good to see everyone this morning. I'm Jerry Leader, one of the worship associates here at First Parish. Our senior minister, Reverend Lisa Perry Wood, is away this weekend. Today, we welcome guest minister, Reverend Joanna Jo Murphy, to lead our service. Reverend Jo was recently ordained as a Unitarian Universalist minister, and she is exploring a variety of next options for her ministry, including chaplaincy and doctoral programs. Welcome, Reverend Jo. First Parish is a welcoming Unitarian Universalist congregation, open and affirming all people. Whoever you are, whatever your gifts or abilities may be, however you identify your gender or sexual orientation, whatever your life and faith journey has taken you, whatever joys or sorrows you are carrying right now, you are welcome here. If this is the first time visiting us, or you have not done so before, please take a moment to fill out one of the yellow visitor cards that you'll find on the backs of the pews and place it in the offering plate as it comes around. After the service, our welcoming and membership co-chairs, Ann Dinsmore and Reverend Eliza Blanchard, invite you to join them at the Peterson Room couches to answer questions about becoming a member of First Parish in Brookline. If you're wondering about becoming more connected and committed, or if you have questions about our confidential form of government, please bring your coffee or tea from Hospitality Hour and join them. Also, please take note in your order of service of details about the first year ministers startup weekend on Friday evening, February 8th, 6 to 9 p.m. Plan now to join in a pizza dinner and congregational gathering, part of a weekend exploration of our new ministry together. Childcare will be available. After the service, everyone is warmly invited to join us for conversation and refreshments through the door to Line Chapel. We encourage both newcomers and long-timers to pick up a striped mug of coffee and to signal interest in sharing conversation with those you may not know or know well. And everyone, please look at the striped mug holders and make them feel welcome. Welcome to all and all.
Come into this place by Margaret Weiss. Come into this place with your whole self, the parts that are raw and exposed, the part that is beaming with joy, the part that is seeking the truth, the new, the possibility. Come into this place. Open your heart, lay down your burden, lift up your hope for something new to happen. Come into this place with fellow travelers on the journey, some faces new and others familiar, and all welcoming you here, now, in this moment. Come, let us worship together. And now, please rise as you are willing and able and join in singing opening hymn number 22, Dear Weaver of Our Life's Design.
At this time, I would like to invite Jamie Redgrave and Katrina Reagan and to come forward to light the chalice, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith the world over. As they light the chalice, please join me in our unison affirmation printed in your order of service in English, then in Spanish. We give ourselves one to another, covenanting to walk together as a congregation, promising faithfully to watch over one another and delight for the love in our midst. Nos engramanos y nos comprometemos a caminar comunicación, premeditemos con muchos deseos, Each week, we also light 2 candles of peace, each candle representing a different place on earth that we want to lift up and remember this morning as sacred encounter with the world. There are untold number of places on earth that need peace. Today, we remember 2 places that we especially hold close in this service and through the week ahead. After each of the candles is lit, we will speak the words for peace in English, Arabic, and Hebrew. Peace, salam, shalom. Our first candle is lit for all those whose lives have been strained by the government shutdown. May the crisis be peacefully resolved. Shalom. Our second candle is lit for Venezuela, where violent protests erupted with the former dictatorial leader refused to make way for newly elected President Juan Guaido. May peace be restored to the people of Venezuela and their elected leader take his rightful place. Peace, salam, shalom.
It is now the time in our service to share our joys and concerns. Please come up if you would like to share whatever is on your heart. We hold all these joys and concerns that have been spoken and those that have not with love and with cuteness. There's a love holding me. There's a love holding you. There's a love holding all of us. Rest in that love. And now we will sing the children out to their classes. An excerpt from The Natural Amusements by Pierre Albert Bourreau. At the door of the house, who will come knocking? An open door, we enter. A closed door, den. The world pulse beats beyond my door. Please join me in the spirit of prayer followed by a silent meditation. Let us feel all the love that is in this room. Let us connect to it. Let it fill us, surround us, and hold us. Let our prayers nourish it and grow it until we are our love, and our love is us.
Good morning, friends. I sometimes wonder why I come here to First Parish in Brookline, why it's so important to me to show up, how I have come to feel so deeply that I belong here and that my membership in this community matters. For me, active engagement in church was easy. I was born into church. I have 6 members of my immediate and extended family who were or are Protestant ministers, including my grandfather and one of my daughters. Church has been where I have found my best friends. It's where I've been able to be myself and blossom as a leader, starting as a teenager in Pasadena, California. I've experienced glorious times, as when long ago I attended Marsh Chapel at Boston University when Howard Thurman was there. And I've experienced the challenging times of transitions that all congregations go through when, with considerable urgency, we struggle to strengthen and deepen community. When I first came here to First Parish a dozen years ago, at my already advanced age, I wanted to find out whether or not I believed in God. And I discovered that for Unitarian Universalists, asking the question is more important than being given the answer. My partner, Carla, on the other hand, was not born into church. She demonstrated her teenage rebellion by becoming active in the church across the street from her home. She wound up preaching a youth sermon in which she declared to God-believing Congregationalists who were sitting in the pews that she didn't believe in God. Not until her 40s did she come back to a faith community when a gay friend told us that Arlington Street Church was a safe place to be as closeted lesbians as a couple. We came out there. Here at First Parish, we've always felt safe and accepted. Together and each in our own way, we've been called to try to bring our best selves to this service, this community. We are held by this community, by our UU principles, and by our vision of what can be. It is here that we are supported to ponder life's important questions. Belonging matters. Being accepted and appreciated matters. And membership matters, because when we contribute to this community and then go on to become members, we are truly declaring we're in. Our joy in relationships is compounded, and our caring for others and being cared for by others are deepened. Today, if you would like to explore deepening your connections and your commitment here, or to think about how you belong or want to belong, please reach out to any member of the Welcoming and Membership Committee. Eliza Blanchard and I co-lead this group, and we consist of Alfred Brownell, Elena Garofoli, these folks are among you now, Whit Larrabee, Branch Moody, and Julie Palmer. We want to support you to build connection and your sense of belonging here at First Parish. And today and any of the next 3 Sundays after the service, feel free to join Eliza and me over at the couches in Hospitality Hour. Bring your coffee or tea, and let's talk not only about becoming a member, but even before that, when you begin to wonder how much this place means to you, let's have a conversation.
The offering will now be gratefully received. If you're visiting First Parish for the first time today, please feel free to let the basket pass you by. We are so glad to have you with us.
For all that you have given and for all that we have received, we say thanks.
Every morning the world is created under the orange sticks of the sun. The heaped ashes of the night turn into leaves again and fasten themselves to the high branches. And the ponds appear like black cloth on which are painted islands of summer lilies. If it is your nature to be happy, you will swim away along the soft trails for hours, your imagination alighting everywhere. And if your spirit carries within it the thorn that is heavier than lead, if it's all you can do to keep on trudging, there is still somewhere deep within you, a beast shouting that the earth is exactly what it wanted. Each pond with its blazing lilies is a prayer heard and answered lavishly every morning. Whether or not you have ever dared to be happy, whether or not you have ever dared to pray.
Please rise as you are willing and able, and let us join our voices in our hymn of preparation, Beauty Within. Covered in almost a blanket of flowers, the dress activates when it shakes. The flowers shift and slightly crinkle as they bend and move petals up against petals. I created this dress to both preach and move in, a dress that seeks to make the act of shaking a demonstration of beauty versus a demonstration of fear or nerves. Ever since I was little, I have been nervous to speak in front of people. I feel the nervous butterflies, and I can imagine them vividly as actual butterflies bumping into my stomach walls. I feel the nausea and all that particular energy that comes with the fear of public speaking. It starts as if I was my 8-year-old self, then becomes the shakes. Sometimes I shake in a way that can be noticed. Other times my hands tremble in a way that is really only perceptible to me. I have often worked to try to stop the shakes, making sure I breathe, take breaks, digging into the many mind exercises I have filed away to calm myself down to stop the shaking. My last year of divinity school, I decided I wanted to tackle the shakes in a different way. Instead of attempting to construct an ultimate plan of ending the shakes or drafting an agenda for how to eventually get rid of all my anxiety, I decided to think more about the space around me and if I could transform it. I tackled this transformation of space by creating a dress that would welcome the shakes, a dress that would be at its most beautiful when it shook. I worked to create a space of worship in which I could finally express reverence towards something I had never expressed any love for, not to mention reverence. In making a space where my shaking could be beautiful, I paid homage to my shaking by accepting it, wearing it, worshiping it. To worship often entails an expression of reverence, a space of homage. In many religious traditions, to worship specifically refers to an expression of reverence to a deity or God. Worship is a way of finding or creating a space in which to negotiate the relationship between the worshiper and the outside realm, whether that realm be God, the divine, or just something holy. In this context, and for the sake of simplicity, worship can mean finding a way to feel reverent. Existing in a world that is racked by injustice, it is easy to let ourselves fill up more on despair than by reverence. If we think of reverence as a deep admiration and a way of honoring something, it can be easy to draw a line between good and bad, between what we revere and what we don't. We use this duality as a shortcut to consider the world and what deserves our respect. In so many other faiths and traditions, though of course not always clean-cut, there is often more specific guidance in this realm as worshipers practice their faith by having reverence for God or another deity or deities. What do we, as Unitarian Universalists, hold reverence for, and how do we worship this? As individuals, you, of course, express awe for different things and entities, but I do believe that as a people, we can begin to articulate and put to action reverence. The reverence we see in the holy strands that tie beauty and brokenness together to make a whole person. As UUs, we must practice finding the awe and appreciation for the force that compels us to love people, not only for their lovableness, but for their wholeness, a wholeness that is often broken, that is imperfect and sometimes bad, intertwined ever so delicately with all that is good. This is an intimate reverence, a reverence that compels us to love those inexplicable threads that hold both the good and the bad together to make a whole. My dress seeks to alter the perception of shaking as a manifestation of anxiety or fear by creating a dress that physically showcases the shakes as beauty, spurring more beauty, petals falling to create splendor wherever they land, representing not only pieces of beauty, but symbolizing growth and possibility. A blooming of unexpected loveliness in that space where fear and beauty come together to make more of a cohesive whole. The unexpected charm that reveres the crazy pieces of people, both good and bad, strange and unbelievable. The pieces that in their ugliness are wound up and intermixed, mixed up to become that whole. I would like to take a moment now to lead us in one of my favorite activities, passing the pulse. It seems appropriate in a sermon about becoming and wearing worship to put this into practice right away. I will explain the exercise and then bless the connection and the worship together. So, passing the pulse, you may remain seated, but some people are going to have to stand. And what it'll look like overall is everyone needs a hand to hold. So we will get up and move around so that we're all holding hands. And then what will happen is, in my dream world, there's a row of people coming up, so I am also connected, but that may not happen. But there'll be a starting person or me that begins the pulse by squeezing the hand that's I'm holding, and then once you are squeezed, you squeeze the next hand of the next person, and on until it comes back to me or the beginning person, so that we will be united by this pulse. So, if everyone that is able to rise would rise and start grabbing hands. I think so. Yeah, I think that'll be easiest. Ooh, yes, we'll do it at the end. Yeah, we can wait a little bit. Okay, does everyone have a hand? All right, so everyone take a deep breath. Yes, I'm gonna grab it, yes, soon. It's gonna wait a moment. Okay, so I am going to start the pulse. So I'm going to squeeze Jeff's hand, and he will squeeze Laura's hand, and on and on and on, and we'll see if it gets back to me. So just be patient. Also, if you notice that nothing's happening, we'll zoom in and, do some recon and adjust the problem. Okay, so ready? I'm going to do a quick check-in. Do we have a pulse? Does someone have the pulse? Okay. Okay. So is it traveling? Okay. Oh, and I just got it. As we hold hands here in connection, let us be reverent for all that is present. Let us be reverent to the good and the bad present in all of us, and let our connection compel us to love. I bless this space of connection, and that it may always be one of strength, love, resistance, and reverence that is recognizing the complexities of people. While not dropping the connection, you may now drop hands and take your seats. Well, that was an incredibly successful Pass the Pulse. I make tons of people do this all the time, and I'm very impressed, so good work. I wanted to do this because I at one point was going to wear my dress, but it's a lot to get into and move around, so I appreciate you passing the pulse so that I may wear this worship. For me, this practice has meant lots of things. Whenever I complete a Pass the Pulse, I am reminded of when, as a youth, I, along with 5 other people, grabbed hold of an electric fence and let the electricity run through us all. Of course, luckily this time, the energetic connection you felt during the prayer, hopefully, was not a dangerous electric one, but I hope it was just as real. While I was working on my dress that would transform my shakes, I read about the Shakers and their experience with shaking as an expression of the divine, a shaking that occurred amongst community. An early meeting of the Shakers, described in a 19th century Shaker textbook, gives an idea of how the Shakers both worshiped and how they became known as the Shakers. It reads, "Sometimes, after assembling together and sitting a while in silent meditation, they were taken with a mighty trembling, under which they would express the indignation of God against all sin. At other times, they're affected under the power of God with an even mightier shaking, and were occasionally exercised in singing, shouting, or walking the floor under the influence of spiritual signs, shoving each other about, or swiftly passing and repassing each other, like clouds agitated by a large wind. From these strange exercises, the people received the name Shakers. By some were called shaking Quakers." Historian Robley Edward Whitson remarks that the Shaker leader, Ann Lee, sought an interior enlightenment as the liberation from sin and as the power of the Spirit for growth into perfection. Whitson articulates an interior enlightenment that has a transformative quality, liberating one from sin to open space for a growth towards perfection, a growth towards the divine. The transformation that allows liberation from sin and a transition to wonder and delight is often manifested as actual shaking or trembling. This interior enlightenment is also about self-love, a growing affection for all parts of ourselves, whether they are shaking furiously or standing firmly, grounded, and still. The Shakers branched off from the Quakers after coming to the conclusion that the Quakers' way of worship did not allow for often overflowing into emotionally charged manifestations, songs without words, strange languages, prayers through bodily gestures such as kneeling, ecstatic, spontaneous dancing, and bodily agitation and trembling. It is this bodily agitation and trembling that their mocking neighbors called them the shaking Quakers. In my transformation of the shakes into falling and shivering petals, my dress works to capture what the Shakers identified as the emotion-charged manifestations. The common perception of shaking is seen as an emotionally charged manifestation of fear and anxiety. Though this is the common perception, the Shakers believe that their shaking was a signifier of the human encountering the divine. I wonder if it is in the meeting of both fear and awe that we often see the divine. I wonder if it is in this space of embracing what is shaking and what is steady that we find ourselves feeling reverent in a way where we truly know that to feel joy, you also need to feel fear and sadness, to know that we need the dark to see the light. We must make spaces for all the dualities that we nurture reverence for, in our recognizing, honoring, and expressing awe to the complexities of these dualities. The dark, the light, the joy, the fear, we are then compelled to act. So much of the time of our worship is separated from our social activism. Even the act of coffee hour feels different, a separate entity which serves a distinct purpose. We gather for coffee, community, camaraderie, but it does not feel the same as worship. In a context where our religious landscape is radically changing, we are asked as Unitarian Universalists and as people of faith what we worship and how we do it. I challenge you to integrate the camaraderie of coffee hour into your finding of reverence. Part of my project about wearing worship considers how I could bring more spirit of worship into my daily life, more awe, more ritual, more reverence. I have worked in many different ways on this engagement with a process of worship, from trying to make recycling a ritual to putting faith in myself that answering an immigration hotline is sometimes like prayer. And for moments, I have felt the rhythm of recycling and the prayerfulness of connection, but I have struggled with the want to be in constant worship, to be constantly reverent, So with my dress, I've decided to wear it. This impulse comes in part from wanting to be the worship myself, to be always in connection with some force, some tiny speck of continual reverence. This reverence can be found in oh so many places. To be in awe and appreciation of this reverence in each place is important. It is crucial to open ourselves up to experience reverence in the space that holds both the beauty and the brokenness, the space that allows us to both see and love the entirety of people, the entirety of the world. We, the people of this world, are losing touch with our greater humanity all the time, losing a sense of what this humanity is and who it belongs to. Let us find this humanity again. Let us find it through a worship that is reverence. Let us remind ourselves by working to remember that we are interconnected, that our dignity is forever relying on the dignity of all living things, all living people. I could stop here, but I think there is more to be said about how to act on this reverence. I think there are ways that when we express our reverence in which we are also called to tangible action. In this time, so many of us are called by our liberal faith to take action and to take this action faithfully. Many of us, in fact, are bombarded by actions every day, rallies to attend, representatives to call, causes that need money, petitions that need signing, potlucks, fundraisers, and don't forget to vote, vote, vote. While of course I think these are all important, I also think it is important for all of us who are worried about the loveliness of humanity fading, for all of us who are worried about our connected dignity faltering. I think it is important to find one action to take that connects you to people outside of your community, to find a reverence that is moving beyond where you usually tread. For me, this action has been the volunteering with an immigration hotline and volunteering in prisons. For you, it could also be volunteering some time to work in a prison, to answer a hotline, visit a deportation center, step out of your neighborhood, and make an outsider an insider. Reverend Mark Ward, in a piece called Grounded Someplace Deeper, speaks about the need for reverence in our religious faith. He notes, as David Bumba suggests, religion deserves reverence. It requires a vocabulary and a theology. This theology demands no intervention of unearthly forces, but invites us to open ourselves to different ways of living and learning. It considers the human, a niche in the vast, intertwined plenitude of being. And just what is our niche? We are fragile, fallible sorts for whom just being is a blessing and love is a pole star. And though having love as our pole star, our North Star, our guiding star, may at times be a struggle, it is something our minds, bodies, and hearts are always ready to do. So let us wear our worship, and in wearing our worship, let us express our reverence that is love. When we all are connected through the exercise of Pass the Pulse, I was reminded how this is often used as an exercise in which to focus children, to ground them in the moment. I hope some of you felt this today. Let us be active in our reverence. Let us grab a hand and continue to pass the pulse that is our liberatory connection, that is reverent, that is electric. If you now please rise as you are willing and able, and let us join our voices in our closing hymn, 1057, Go Lifted Up.
Please join me in the unison affirmation as Reverend Joe extinguishes the chalice. We extinguish the flame and not the light of truth, the warmth of community or the fire of commitment. These we carry with us and offer gifts unto the world.
Please take the hand or touch the elbow or shoulder of someone near you for the benediction. Rebecca Parker ends her beloved poem, Choose to Bless the World, with the lines, "The choice to bless the world can take you into solitude, to search for the sources of power and grace, native wisdom, healing, and liberation. More, the choice will draw you into community, the endeavor shared, the heritage passed on, the companionship of struggle, the importance of keeping faith, the life of ritual and praise, the comfort of human friendship, the company of earth, the chorus of life welcoming you. None of us alone can save the world. Together, that is another possibility waiting. Let us be together without any more waiting. We are already connected. Let us bless that connection and worship it with all the reverence we got. Amen, and blessed be."